So come to the river. I had to think about that a little bit. You know, the river, physically, ancient civilizations started around rivers because rivers provided them nourishment, water for the body, fertile soil to plant their crops for food. It provided an easy way for transportation. It provided a place for animals to come and fish to swim so that they could also hunt and fish for food. So they were very nourished by the river. It also provided cleanliness and excitement and adventure for them. Spiritually, the river is pretty similar. The river spiritually means power of spirit. The power of spirit to nourish us, to purify and cleanse us, to move us and take us beyond where we are to something greater. It has that power. You know, when Michael mentioned Jesus and the well, the Old Testament talks many times about having our soul having a thirst for God. Very similar to our body having a thirst for water. And it was Jesus who said he was going to bring living water so we would thirst for God no more. Well, what are some of the things that Jesus taught us? Number one, about the eternality of life, that life goes on, spirit goes on. He taught us 2 commandments. That's it. Made life simple. Love God with all your heart and your soul, and love one another and yourself. It's all about love. He made it very simple to nourish and feed us. So we can think about a river as being something that, number one, as Heraclitus said, the ancient Greek philosopher, you can never step in the same river twice. Because if you stand at the bank of a river, you watch the river doesn't really change, but its contents always changes. Life is never meant to be static or still for long. I mean, static and non-moving. We need to remember that we're part of this river of life, and our job is to grow and expand and become. I mean, we live and we're immersed in, if we call this river of life the power of spirit, we live in unlimited potential and possibility. We have to decide every moment, are we using that? Are we using that potential and possibility that is all around us? As humans, one of the greatest gifts we've been given is the privilege to think. We can think that life is amazing, and we can make life amazing. And one of the greatest burdens we've been given is the ability to think. Because the life that could be amazing, we can also think is really bad. We can think it's filled with problems. We can focus on the negative. And we have that possibility and potential in us to make the changes. We have to do the work. It was interesting because Mark Nepo, one of my favorite current mystic poets, has a book called Drinking from the River of Light. Well, for me, light, life, and love are all the same. So drinking from the river of light. And I opened the book, as I do often, and I just like to see in many books, you know, what pops up? What do I need to know right now? And he had a simple quote by Paramahansa Yogananda, who created the Self-Realization Center down in San Diego. And he said, never give up and surrender. Does that kind of confuse you a little bit? I mean, never give up and surrender. I'll tell you, that makes perfect sense to someone who's really been given a health diagnosis, a scary health diagnosis, how you have to never give up, keep trying, keep working, and surrender to what is. It's very understandable, that paradox, somebody who's in deep grief or loss of something they love deeply, how you never give up on that love, but you have to surrender, life moving on. So a little bit about coming to the river is about watching the flow of life and never giving up on the power of spirit that's available to us infinitely, always, forever, and life that happens. You know, I thought when I read that quote right now, I find the world we're living in right now is challenging. It's confusing. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's next. I really don't know how to be or how I'm to show up a lot of times, because the world is changing in ways I don't know about you. I would imagine, talking to many people, we don't really understand it. So we have to never give up on our spiritual self, that the river of spirit is running through us. It's always there. It never tires, never gets exhausted. It's always moving. But we surrender to what is and trust this process of life. So I know the one thing we have to do beyond anything, always, to be connected to this river of life, is go to our inner awareness, our inner knowing, the space within us, and to meditate. How many of you find that easy, to meditate daily and keep your mind focused and disciplined and making that deliberate choice? Well, this was in Mark Nepo's book too, and I thought it was quite cute, and talked to us how hard it is to stay present to the now and to surrender to the moment. The story is about a master who sends his apprentice to the river to learn everything the river has to say and what it has to teach him. And the apprentice, who is very loyal and devoted to his master, is so excited. He packs his little blanket, his favorite blanket, and his pillow, and he runs off to the river, and he looks at the river, and he runs down the bank, and he sits down. Oh, it's too loud. It's rushing too loud, and he was too close. So then he runs up to the mountaintop, the hilltop right above the river, and he goes, too far away. So then he runs and he finds a place right midway between, and it's right beneath the willow tree, and he gets out his favorite pillow and blanket and sits down to meditate. And he falls asleep. And when he wakes up, he feels totally guilty. He's wasted all this time, and his master gave him an assignment. And he said, oh no, what do I do? And he said, okay, I'm gonna focus. And he tried really hard for 3 days. And he was exhausted and had a terrible headache. And right then, a monkey runs by, jumps in the river, starts hooting and laughing and splashing in the river, and something in the apprentice cracks. And he starts weeping, and he doesn't know why. And so he picks up his things and goes off to tell his master what had happened. He didn't get it. And the master had that smile, and he put his hand on his apprentice's shoulder and said, ah, the monkey heard you, and you listened. Isn't the river to break us open from all the things that are restricting us from being fully present? Here's what Mark Nepo says. He says, the goal of going to the river is getting wet. The aim of watching the river is to join the river. And to do this, he says, we must let go of our preoccupation with ourselves. I'm going to say that one again, because I need to hear it again. We have to let go of the preoccupation with ourselves. Trying to make everything right, worried that everything's perfect, and become one with the life before us. Become one with the life before us. And that's what this journey is all about, in order for us to go to that place where we can be restored. We talk about this flow of the power of spirit, the flow of life. You and I regulate the flow. The river can't be dammed up. God can't be dammed up. That's impossible. But we can restrict our own flow. We can turn ourselves off, make ourselves uptight, repressed. We can cling on to the past. We can hold on to fear. We can not forgive ourselves. We can do all those naughty things. We can do that, and we can regulate not only the flow, and we decide to be open, because the power of the river has the ability to open us and soften us. We can decide to turn up the flow, and we can decide that we want to purify the water in our minds. When I say that the river has the possibility to soften us and open us, when we open and allow ourselves to be present to all of life, the wonderful things, the difficult things, just to be present and know it's all the process of the flowing river. And that sometimes our purpose is to swim upstream to get our stronger muscles so we can turn our pain into purpose and something better. But if we really surrender to life, in the fullness of life, we'll be like that little monkey, and we can be cracked open. And do you know we're made of about 70% of water? So that water can come up when we do that as tears. And we may not understand it because the tears can be tears of inspiration. You know how when you see those wonderful things or read a wonderful story that you tear up with inspiration at the power of the human spirit, the power of God, the power of life. It can open from inspiration or great grief. When you see hurt and problems when you've been hurt, we have the power, but to know those tears are part of that river of life. They're part of this journey that we're meant to have. We're supposed to be, as the song said, Rolling River God, one of my favorite songs, to be softened. I remember a story I heard that relationships are like two kind of hard rocks put in a bag, and they keep banging around each other until they get smoother and smoother and smoother. And I look at that at life. The more life we experience, the softer and more resonant we get to the experiences we have. In the river of life, this is something I read when Peggy said we've been doing this 20 years. I looked at this elder's prophecy. And I've been reading this. It's a Hopi elder prophecy. And it was written June 8th, 2000. And I've been reading it every year since then because I think it has so much to say about our life in the world. And we have to be able to dare to plunge in the river because sometimes it's scary. We don't want to have all those feelings of emotions that break us open and those times that make us have to trust God, where we never give up to surrender to something greater. So I'm just going to read a piece of this right now. The elder clasped his hands together and he smiled. This could be a good time. There is a river now flowing very fast. It is so great and swift. There are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel as if they're being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. I'd just like to say that's a bit how it feels to me right now, trying to hold on to life the way I've known it. And things are going so fast. You don't quite know how you're to show up and how to be, and holding on and thinking of all the things that aren't the same. They feel like you're being torn up. And he goes on to say, no, the river has its destination. Surrender to knowing there is a divine plan. Yes, we have choice about how we participate, but there is a divine plan. The elders say we must let go of the shore. We must let go of the shore. Push out into the middle of the river. Keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And then look around and see all those that are with you. And celebrate. Celebrate that we're all doing this together. We're together in this, and everything's going to be okay. My boyfriend, Rumi, said, love is a river. Drink from it. Drink from this river. And if we know that river of life, that river of light, that river is love. It is, because that's the essence, the substance of everything. And if we can understand that if we truly do our daily meditations, if we truly find that spiritual oasis and go past all the stuff that we run into and keep going in, go further, deeper, dive until we get there, we can truly have that knowing and faith, absolutely, that everything is going to be okay. There is a destination, and we're part of it right now. And we can set our minds on finding the good and always knowing that we can vision something greater and the greater possibility. I'd like to end right now with another, it's a Hindu quote from a Hindu poet and mystic Kabir. And he said, I am a citizen of God's kingdom. That's all of us. We are citizens of God's kingdom, where every day is a day of celebration, which reminded me of a Bible quote, this is a day the Lord has made. Rejoice and be glad in it. The river of love overflows its banks. It's available all the time, everywhere present. And the lotus blooms in the lover's heart. So my wish for all of us today, as we begin, the season of Thanksgiving and the holiday season, that we allow ourselves to be in that river of love, and we never, ever, ever give up, and surrender to the love and goodness, possibility, the change, the understanding, the purification that the river has to offer. I see each of you, when I hold my head up, I open my eyes, and I say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being in our community that knows we're creating something bigger and better together. God bless you all. I love you all, and so it is. Thank you.